The times have changed, so has the delivery of news. We believe local news needs to be easily accessible. Hey, Owensboro, get with the times. Subscribe today at owensborotimes.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Owensboro Times 2022 General Election Town Hall, sponsored by Jerry Ray Davis Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. I'm Jake Boswell. I'll be moderating this event, our 6th of 8 sessions this evening. For this session, we'll be joined by the 2 candidates for Family Court Judge. Candidates are going to have 60 seconds to answer each of the questions we've posed for them, and then an additional 60 seconds at the end to deliver a closing statement. Let's introduce you to our candidates, and then we'll get right to our first question. We have Angela Lynn Thompson and Andrew Johnson. Also appearing on the ballot with them will be Julie Hawes Gordon. She chose not to participate in the town hall this evening. After our draw, Ms. Thompson, you've got the first question, and it is, what is your vision for the future of the family court system in Davis County?
All right, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here tonight. My vision for family court system is a system that is going to run efficiently, that's going to be fair and impartial, that you will have a judge that has integrity, that will issue timely opinions. We need justice in our family court system, and we need to get back to that. So my vision will be to earn the confidence of the Davis County residents in our family court system, and I will do that by bringing to the bench my experience and my integrity and my work ethic, so that we can make this a system that works for the families of Davis County.
Mr. Johnson, same question.
Yes, and thank you, Jake, and to Owensboro Times for hosting. Thanks to the Bluegrass Museum for having us. I, too, believe that it's time for Davis County problems to be solved more efficiently. Family court is such an important part of the community because you're dealing with so many people that cannot speak for themselves, that are victims, and it is critically important that we make sure that we protect those people at all times. Doing hard work, the hard work of showing up day in, day out, and making sure that you apply the facts to the law is the hope for any family court judge, and that's what I will do for Davis County.
Mr. Johnson, you get to answer this question first. How would you manage a long and growing family court docket?
Well, first, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that we are running for a newly created family court seat, and so where before we had one family court, now we'll have 2 divisions of family court, and that alone I think will help a great deal. And so a lot of credit needs to be given to the legislators and the community members who fought for that second seat for so long. It was long overdue. That being said, I think it will be important that we work with, or I work with, the judge of the other family court to make sure that we have a schedule and a docket system that makes sense, so that we don't have so many people waiting out in the hallway for their case to be heard. Too often, if you walk up on the 3rd floor, there's just too many people waiting in the hallway. Motion hours, motion days, hearing the same types of cases on the same days are the things that we'll need to discuss as a family court system to make it work.
Ms. Thompson, same question.
Yes, I would put several things in place to manage our court docket system. Right now, we have a system that there's delays in getting to court. So my first, one of my objectives would be to have a case management system that is effective, having a motion hour that is effective, also using mediation more frequently than we do now. All of those things will help manage the docket so that the families and children of Davis County can get to court. And I think that's one of the most important things that we need to do. Along with, we need to be working together with the other family court judge whichever judges, whoever's elected in that position, we need to work together to manage the system so that the same cases are not, types of cases are not heard on the same day.
Let's move along to our third question here of this session. And Ms. Thompson, you can answer first. How would you build trust in the family court system compared to where it stands today?
Part of what my goal is to bring confidence and trust in our system. In order to do that, I think that day in and day out, you have to have a system that brings justice to the families and children of Davis County. That means that day in and day out, individuals that come to court understand that they have the opportunity to be heard, that they're treated with respect, that there will be a fair and impartial decision. And so I think if we do that, we can build confidence along with bringing more services to our families. There's a lot of good organizations in Davis County that help families, and we need to make sure that those services are brought to our families. And I think if we do those things day in and day out, it will build confidence and trust back in our court system.
Mr. Johnson?
I think that trust is earned and not given. I think that the trust is the foundation for our court system as a whole and the rule of law. I think that in order to have that strong foundation, sometimes you just got to dig ditches. And that means you've got to show up every day, ready to work, do your job, do it fairly, treat people with respect, and not be afraid to do that hard work. Not be afraid to give the unpopular opinion at times. But if you do it fairly and consistently while obeying the golden rule, I think that trust in Davis County, the Davis County will trust us.
And both of you know this, but family court can be emotional. It can be sensitive depending on the case, depending on the family, depending on the day. How would you balance the mental and emotional aspects of court with the rule of law? Mr. Johnson, you can go first.
Well, I think when I've been doing this 18 years, I've been practicing law, and it won't be the first time that that I've dealt with emotions inside or outside the courtroom. By the nature of the work, compartmentalization is key. Again, back to that golden rule, if you treat people the way you want to be treated, while also recognizing that the litigants in front of you are having probably what I would imagine to be one of, if not the worst days of their life. These are the same people in our community that I grew up in, that I went to school with, or that I see at dance recitals, or that I see on Saturdays, and you just have to have that humanity as well. If you treat them the way you would want to be treated while understanding they're going through something difficult, I think that's how you do it.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes, I've been practicing law for 28 years, so I've dealt and handled many cases in which there are high emotions and high tensions. I also served as the Domestic Relations Commissioner prior to a family court coming to Davis County, and I also dealt with emotional cases and when tensions were very high. So as a commissioner, what I would always do is, first, I think you need to remain calm in that situation. And then I think you need to explain to the litigants that they will have an opportunity to be heard. You treat them with respect and make sure that they understand that they will get a chance to speak and present their side to the case. And then I think when you do that, you will get that respect back. And so if you respect them, you will get that respect back. Family court is an emotional court, and so I think the judge has to have the right temperament to handle that.
Let's move on to our fifth question. Ms. Thompson, you get the chance this time to go first. Drug abuse has grown more prevalent in our community. People on stage have been saying it all afternoon, all evening. How has it affected the number of family court cases, and what factors do you look at potentially in handling those cases?
Drug abuse and mental health issues go hand in hand. And I can say, based on my 28 years of experience, I have seen more and more of those issues come to light. in the cases that, I've been involved in, and I've been involved in thousands of cases. So drug abuse and mental health are definitely issues that we need to continue to address as a community. There are definitely organizations in Davis County that are very knowledgeable of the drug abuse problem and the mental health, and we need to use those resources. And when I say use those resources, I mean we all need to be educated. Not only the judges, but the staffs and the attorneys need to be educated on what services are out there in our community. And then we need to try to get those services to the right people at the right time. And I think if we do that, we can help a situation. We may not be able to solve it, but we can help.
Mr. Johnson, your chance to answer the same question.
Well, first, I think it goes without saying that the rise of drugs and drug abuse has increased dramatically the amount of cases in family court. As every family court candidate up here that I've heard has indicated, it's very challenging to separate mental health and drug abuse, and they often go hand in hand and are intertwined. There is often not a one-size-fits-all solution. Some people's addiction is greater. There are different drugs. There are different addiction response patterns. And so as the judge, I would be looking, of course, I mean, it's relatively easy to say we cannot have parents in active addiction parenting. I mean, that's just common sense. So how do you address that? Well, you look for the signs. And I've done this long enough. For 20 years now, I've been on all sides of all these cases where I've represented the children, unfortunately the parents, and so I know what that looks like.
Mr. Johnson, you get the chance to answer this question first. How would your court work with community agencies that specialize in assisting families and children in need?
Well, as a little bit like the question we were just talking about, so many of the problems or the issues that we attempt to address or try to help resolve in family court don't originate inside that courtroom. They necessarily then won't have solutions that come from just inside the courtroom. We, the courtroom, the community, will rely upon all of the myriad of outside agencies and services and supports that are available. And I mean, I've been doing that my whole life growing up here. So many of those supports we all already know: the schools, mental health, physical health providers, in addition to the substance abuse providers. But when you look at it, if you're talking about a family court system, what we need to do is empower those providers to give us timely feedback and make it easier for them to provide us as judges with the facts so that we can apply the law and render a decision.
Same question to you, Ms. Thompson. How would your court work with community agencies that specialize in assisting families and children in need?
We need to work closely with those community agencies. It is vital to a successful family court system. We need to make sure that everyone that is involved in the system understands what agencies are out there and what they can do and what they can provide. Sometimes the attorneys are not aware of what agencies are out there. So we need to make sure we educate everyone that is involved in family court of the services that are out there. And then we need to make sure that those services get to the families. There's different types of course cases in family law as a family court. There's dependency, neglect, and abuse cases, and community agencies are routinely involved in those. But there's also custody cases and divorce cases that we need to work closely with our community agencies to help those families that are in need.
Let's move on to our final question now of the ones we've got prepared for you. Ms. Thompson, how would you work with the other family court judge to maintain consistency among the courts?
I'm really excited that we are going to have 2 family court judges that are going to be new to the bench. Whoever is elected, you will have 2 family court judges. And I think it's vital that we work together. So I'm excited, if I'm elected, that I will work diligently with the elected judge from Division 3. A couple things we need to put into place immediately would be a docket system that works not only for the judges, but for the staff and for the attorneys and for the community. So we will want to make sure our docket system is one that works for everyone. We also need to revise our local rules. And I would work with the newly elected judge of Division III to make those rules very practical, useful, and something that we expect the parties to follow. And so I think it's very important that we work together, and I will do that if I'm elected.
Mr. Johnson, same question. If elected, how would you work with the other family court judge that will also be elected?
Well, so many of the questions you've asked tonight, Jake, deal with how would we rebuild trust or affect trust? And I think that starts with consistency and doing consistently day in, day out the work that's required. And I think you can't do that as an island. We are a strong, powerful community, Davis County, and that means that we need, whichever one of us is elected, we need to work with the elected representative of Division III. I think that you, as Ms. Thompson's pointed out, we absolutely are going to need to coordinate schedules and calendars and make sure all of that works. But more than that, we're going to have conversations about consistency and making sure that we aren't allowing litigants to forum shop and create divisions within the system. The system needs to maintain integrity, and by working together, we can do that. But communication is typically the key.
Well, that's the end of the questions we have for you guys to answer. You each were told beforehand you get 60 seconds for closing remarks. So as you guys are your thoughts and really everything you want to say here at the end, I want to give you each that 60 seconds. Mr. Johnson, you get to go first.
Thank you. I'm Andrew Johnson. I've been practicing law in Davis County for 18 years. I've been doing family court the entire time that I've been practicing. I practice in all three areas of family court: juvenile dependency, neglect, and abuse, domestic violence, as well as custody and visitation, divorce. I've done that, and because when I see my kids and I go to their games and I go to their school events, and I see the other children that we see in court, but maybe nobody else knows because, again, a lot of these are confidential. And I see I compare the opportunity that my kids have to the opportunities that these children don't. And fundamentally, every kid in Davis County deserves to have a great opportunity. With the experience, training that I have, this is the best way I know how to give back, and I want to leave Davis County better than I found it.
Ms. Thompson, your chance for your 60-second closing statement.
All right, thank you. I've been practicing law, family law in Davis County for 28 plus years, almost 3 decades. For decades, I've been in the family court system. I've understood the problems that the family court system has faced. I've seen the struggles of men, women, and children with our current system. I think we need to do 3 things to make this system better. 1, we need to immediately reduce the time it takes to get to court through effective mediation, case management. Step 2, what we need to do is make sure that there's justice when they get to court. That means a fair and impartial decision. That means being treated with respect every time. And that means doing the right things and working with the families. And the 3rd step would be that there would be timely decisions. There's no justice if you have to wait months and months for decisions. So if elected, I will do those 3 steps, and I will work each day for the families and children of Davis County. Thank you.
Well, that ends this session. Thanks to everybody who took the time to watch. Thanks to each of the candidates for being here with us this evening. We also want to thank the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum for allowing us to be here all afternoon, all night. We also want to thank our sponsor, Jerry Ray Davis, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. We also want to remind everybody who is watching that November 8th will be Election Day, and you can have your voice heard by heading out to the polls. Ladies and gentlemen, our candidates for Family Court Judge.